The 19-year-old alien girl offended the human, so he turned and walked away without a word. The exchange station, called Lumengate, floated between two calm stars like a lantern that refused to go out. Its halls were bright, its floors clean, and its rules very strict. No shouting, no threats, no weapons. No pride contests, as the station guides like to say. That last rule was the hardest one for most species. Humans were still new to the wider galaxy. They did not have the biggest ships or the loudest voices. Many species thought humans were interesting but not important. They were invited to meetings mostly for good manners, as some diplomats joked. On this day, a small crowd gathered inside the cultural hall, where a public talk was about to begin. The topic was simple: how different species handled cooperation. The speakers were a young alien diplomat named Seele and a human observer named Evan Rourke. Evan stood at the edge of the hall, half in shadow, half in light. He was not dressed like a famous leader. He wore a plain jacket, simple shoes, and a calm face. His badge read, Systems Liaison, Earth Delegation. That title sounded boring, and Evan liked it that way. He watched the room the way a careful person watched a stove that might still be hot. Seele stood closer to the center. She was 19 by her species count, which was young, but she had already earned attention. She had smooth, pale blue skin and thin silver lines across her cheeks, markings that showed her training rank. Her eyes were large and dark, and they moved quickly, taking everything in. Seele liked fast results. She liked clear answers. And she liked the feeling of being right. Her mentor, Ambassador Kethvarun, had once warned her, "The younger you are, the more your words can run ahead of your wisdom." Seele had nodded politely at the time. She had not really believed it. The moderator, a calm station official, stepped forward and raised a hand. "Welcome," the official said. "Today we share ideas, not victories. We listen, not judge. Speaker Seele will begin." Seele lifted her chin and smiled. Her smile was friendly, but also sharp, like it was used to cutting through slow conversations. "Thank you," she said. Her voice carried well. "Our council invited humanity to share space at Lumengate because cooperation needs many kinds of minds. Humans are new, but new does not mean useless." A few aliens made soft sounds of agreement. A few humans shifted in their seats, unsure if that was a compliment. Seele continued, confident. "In my studies, humans have one unusual trait. They value emotion highly. They build stories around feelings. They attach meaning to small actions. For many species, this is inefficient, but it can also be charming." Evan did not move. His face stayed neutral. Seele paced slowly as she spoke, like she was drawing lines on the floor with her steps. When humans feel insulted, they react strongly. They raise voices. They demand apology. They seek comfort. This is understandable for a species that is still learning its place. The room stayed quiet. Some listeners leaned in, curious. Evan's hands rested loosely at his sides. His eyes stayed on Seele, but his attention felt wider than just her words. He was watching reactions. He was watching the flow of the crowd. He was watching the small patterns. Seele paused, then looked toward Evan as if she was offering him a chance to correct her. He did not. Seele took that silence as permission. "So," she said, "when humans join a shared system, it helps to guide them gently, like one guides a loud instrument into a careful orchestra. If they complain, it is often best to reassure them, not to treat their complaints as serious data." One human woman in the back frowned. Another human, older, crossed his arms. A few aliens made amused clicks. Evan's expression changed only slightly. It was so small that most people missed it. His eyes narrowed by a fraction. He did not look angry. He looked focused, like a person reading a number that did not belong in a clean equation. The moderator shifted, uncertain, but Seele kept going. "Of course," Seele said brightly. "Humans have strengths. They improvise well under stress. They bond quickly in groups. They are very loyal to their own kind, but they must learn to separate pride from progress." Then she added the line that sounded simple but landed like a stone in still water. "If a human feels offended," Seele said, "it is usually a sign that the human has misunderstood the situation. That is why wise partners do not overreact to human offense. We do not reward it. The room did not laugh loudly. It was not a cruel laugh. It was the kind of soft, polite sound people made when they heard something clever. Evan finally moved. He took one step forward, just one, and the lighting caught his face. His expression was calm and almost gentle, but his eyes looked colder now, not with hate, but with distance. The moderator opened their mouth, perhaps to steer the talk back to safer ground. But Evan lifted a hand slightly, not as a demand, but as a simple signal. He did not speak. He did not argue. He did not ask for an apology. He did not even look around for support. He just turned. And he walked away. No words, no drama, no shaking head, no heavy sigh. He walked as if a decision had already been made, and that decision had weight. At first the audience thought it was a small thing. A human got embarrassed and left. That seemed to fit Saley's idea. Some aliens even smiled, thinking they had just seen an example of human emotion. Saley watched Evan's back, then turned to the crowd with a confident look that said, "See?" But the reaction in the front row was not what she expected. Ambassador Keth Varun had stopped tapping his fingers on his tablet. He was staring at Evan's retreating figure with a face that had gone very still. Next to him, an old delegate from the Praxian Union, a species known for heavy industry and harsh honesty, leaned toward Keth and murmured something. Keth's jaw tightened. Saley's smile weakened just a little. The moderator cleared their throat. "Ah, Speaker Saley, perhaps we will." But Keth rose from his seat, slow and controlled. His movement drew attention, because he was not the type to interrupt. "Pause the session," Keth said. The moderator blinked. "Ambassador, is something wrong?" Keth did not look at Saley at first. He looked toward the doors where Evan had gone. Then he looked at the crowd. "You believe you just saw a young human react emotionally," Keth said. His voice was not loud, but it was heavy enough to sink into the room. "You did not." The soft sounds in the hall faded. Even the air felt different, like a quiet shift in pressure. Saley felt warmth rise under her markings. "Mentor," I was explaining. Keth raised a hand to stop her. "I know what you were doing." He faced her fully now. His eyes were not angry. They were disappointed, which somehow felt worse. "You spoke about human offense as if it is noise," Keth said. "As if it is something to manage, not something to understand." Saley swallowed. "I did not insult him. I said general truths." Keth's gaze held her. General truths can be the sharpest kind of insult. In the back, a station security officer stepped closer, sensing a change, but there was still no danger, just tension, clean and cold. Saley tried to steady herself. "He could have corrected me. He could have spoken." "Yes," Keth said. "He could have." He turned slightly to address the room again. "Humans do not always argue when they disagree. Many species argue as a way to claim territory. Humans argue when they believe the relationship is worth saving." A few delegates shifted in their seats. Keth continued, "When a human walks away without a word, it often means the human has stopped trying to persuade you. That is not the same as surrender." Saley's heart beat faster. She wanted to say that was dramatic. She wanted to say that humans were not so important. But the room's silence pushed back against her pride. The Praxian delegate spoke up, voice rough like stone. "I've seen it before," the Praxian said. "Humans will spend hours fixing a shared machine that isn't even theirs. They will work with patience, smile, and take blame that isn't deserved. But if you tell them they are only useful when guided, they stop." Another delegate, a floating being from the Meyer Collective, added softly, "They do not punish with claws. They punish with absence." Saley stared at them, confused. "Absence?" Keth looked down at his tablet and tapped it once. His expression stayed controlled, but his voice carried a warning. "Evan Rourke is not here as decoration," Keth said. "He is one of the humans who keeps our shared station system stable. He does not command fleets. He does not sit on thrones. He makes small decisions that prevent large failures." Saley's mouth went dry. Keth continued, "He also has full legal right to step away from any cooperative project if he believes the partnership is disrespectful. Humans insisted on that clause when they signed the Lumen Gate Accords. Many of you thought it was a cultural comfort blanket. It is not." The moderator looked alarmed now. "Ambassador, are you saying—" "I am saying," Keth replied, that you should check your system notices. A ripple moved through the hall as delegates opened screens, checked messages, and reviewed alerts. It began as quiet murmurs, then grew into a sharp, uneasy buzz. Sally's own wrist display lit up. She read the new notice, and her stomach tightened. Earth Delegation Notice. Effective immediately, Systems Liaison Evan Rourke is withdrawn from all non-essential joint operations pending review of mutual respect protocols. No threats, no insults, just a clean statement. Sally looked up, trying to find a way to make it smaller. "It's only one human," she said too quickly. Keth's eyes stayed on her. "Yes," he said. "That is what makes it frightening." Sally's throat felt tight. "I didn't mean harm. I believe you," Keth said. "That does not undo the effect." The Praxian delegate leaned back and made a low sound. "This station runs on shared trust," they said, "not just technology." Sally's confidence, so strong a minute ago, now felt like thin glass. She had thought offense was childish. She had thought silence was weakness. She had thought walking away was a loss. But the faces around her did not look victorious. They looked worried. Keth stepped closer to Sally, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You will learn something today," he said. "Humans can forgive many things. They can forgive ignorance. They can forgive mistakes, but they do not stay where they are treated as less than people." Sally whispered. "What do I do?" Keth's gaze softened just slightly. "You go find him," he said. "Not to win, not to prove you are clever. You go to understand." Sally nodded, her pride now mixed with a new feeling. Fear, but also curiosity. She turned toward the doors Evan had used. As she walked, her mind replayed his quiet movement, the simple turn, the steady steps, the lack of words. It felt like a message in a language she had never studied. And somewhere deep inside, she realized the truth that the room had sensed before she did. When a human walks away without a word, the conversation is not over. It has just moved to a place where the rules change. The hallway outside the cultural hall felt longer than usual. Sally walked quickly, her steps light but uneven. The bright confidence she carried earlier was gone, replaced by a heavy pressure in her chest. The words on her wrist display replayed in her mind again and again. "Withdrawn from all non-essential joint operations." She had thought silence was empty. Now it felt crowded. Evan Rourke did not go far. He never did. He moved with purpose, not emotion. Instead of returning to the human delegation wing, he walked toward the systems ring, a quieter part of Lumengate where only engineers, analysts, and station AIs were allowed. Security scanners recognized him instantly and let him pass without delay. Sally reached the entrance minutes later and stopped short when the access gate glowed yellow. "Restricted," the gate announced calmly. "Authorized personnel only." "I am a council-certified diplomat," Sally said, trying to keep her voice steady. The gate paused. "Diplomatic status acknowledged. Access denied." Sally clenched her hands. She had never been denied entry anywhere on the station before. Behind her, soft footsteps echoed. Ambassador Keth Faroon approached, his long robe brushing the floor. "I told you it would not be simple," he said. Sally did not turn. "He's shutting me out." Keth shook his head. "No, he is doing exactly what he said. Nothing about. He is stepping away." They stood in silence for a moment. Through the transparent wall, Sally could see the systems ring beyond, calm, orderly, full of quiet lights and slow-moving service drones. "Why does it matter so much?" she asked finally. "One human." One comment. Keth folded his hands behind his back. "Because humans design systems the way they design trust," he said. "Layer by layer. When one layer is removed, everything above it becomes unstable." As if on cue, Keth's tablet chimed. Then another. Across the station, other delegates were receiving alerts. Inside the Logistics Council chamber, screens flickered as data streams slowed. Nothing failed completely. That was the most unsettling part. Things still worked, but not as smoothly. A transport schedule updated 5 seconds late. A climate control adjustment lagged by a fraction. A shared research simulation froze, then restarted with a warning note. Small things, too small to panic over. Too many to ignore. A mere collective coordinator floated closer to their council hub, its voice soft but uneasy. Human optimization subroutines are no longer auto-correcting, it said. Efficiency loss is minimal but spreading. The Praxian engineers noticed it next. Their heavy systems still ran, but energy waste increased by just enough to be annoying. This station feels rougher, one of them muttered, like a machine missing oil. Back in the systems ring, Evan sat at his assigned console. He had removed his badge and placed it carefully beside the terminal. That small action meant more than any speech. The station AI LUMN core adjusted its projection and appeared beside him as a soft column of light. Evan Rourke, the AI said, your withdrawal notice has been processed. Would you like to submit a formal complaint? Evan shook his head. No. Would you like mediation? No. Clarification requested, LUMN core said gently. Your operational value to this station is significant. Continued absence may reduce overall performance by measurable margins. Evan leaned back in his chair. His face showed no anger, only calm certainty. Then the station will adapt, he said. Adaptation may increase strain on non-human staff, the AI replied. Evan nodded once. That's always been the case. Humans adapt first, so others don't have to. The AI paused longer than usual. Is this action meant as punishment? Lumen Core asked. Evan met the AI's light with steady eyes. No, it's a boundary! The AI processed that word. Elsewhere, Saley sat in a small observation alcove with Keth. The systems ring gate still glowed yellow. I didn't know, she said quietly. I truly didn't. Keth looked at her. Ignorance explains mistakes, he said. It does not erase them. Saley lowered her head. I thought humans wanted approval. I thought they needed guidance. That belief is common, Keth replied. Humans rarely correct it unless asked. They find it easier to work quietly than to argue loudly. Saley looked up. Then why doesn't he explain? Why doesn't he tell me what I did wrong? Keth sighed. Because from his view, he already did. By leaving. Across the station, council members gathered in emergency side meetings. No alarms sounded, no lights flashed red, but everyone felt the shift. The humans were still present. They still followed rules. They still spoke politely. They just stopped fixing things before they broke. A joint food distribution program ran out of optimized routes and had to be recalculated manually. A docking error that would normally be corrected early became a 30-minute delay. Nothing catastrophic, yet. A senior trade delegate slammed a hand on the table. This is ridiculous. Bring the human back, another delegate snapped back. You can't order him. He followed the agreement. The agreement! Many species had skimmed it when humanity joined. Too many words. Too many clauses about consent, respect, and voluntary cooperation. Humans had insisted on those parts. Now the clauses mattered. Saley stood suddenly. I need to speak to him. Keth raised an eyebrow. You already tried. I need permission, she said, determination returning. But different now. Quieter. Less sharp. Keth studied her for a long moment, then tapped his tablet. Lumen Core, he said. Request supervised access to systems ring for diplomat Saley. The AI responded after a pause. Request acknowledged. Access granted for limited duration. Observation only. The gate turned green. Saley's breath caught. Thank you. Keth nodded once. Do not go to defend yourself, he warned. Go to listen. Inside the systems ring, the air felt cooler. The hum of machines was steady, almost comforting. Evan noticed her approach, but did not turn. Saley stopped a few steps behind him. For the first time since arriving at Lumengate, she did not know what to say. So she said the simplest thing. I was wrong. Evan remained still. She swallowed. I spoke as if humans were something to manage. I spoke as if offense was weakness. Still nothing. Her markings dimmed slightly, a sign of humility in her culture. I did not ask who you were, she continued. I assumed. Evan finally turned his chair halfway, enough to acknowledge her without fully engaging. You didn't offend me, he said calmly. Saley blinked. But you dismissed humans, Evan continued. That's different. She nodded slowly. Then why leave? Evan folded his hands. Because staying would have meant explaining my humanity to people who weren't ready to hear it. Saley felt heat behind her eyes. I am ready now. Evan looked at her, not coldly, not kindly, just honestly. Readiness isn't a feeling, he said. It's a pattern of behavior. The station AI projected nearby. Time remaining, 6 minutes. Saley stepped closer. What happens next? Evan glanced at the system readouts. The station will run less smoothly. Councils will notice. Debates will happen. Some will blame humans. Some will learn. And you? Saley asked. I'll work where my presence is wanted, Evan replied. Or I won't work at all. Saley took a breath. If I apologize publicly, Evan raised a hand gently. This isn't about apology. Then what is it about? She asked. Respect, he said simply. The kind you show when no one is watching. The AI chimed again. Time expired. Saley felt panic rise. Will you come back? Evan stood. He picked up his badge and paused. When humans walk away, he said, it doesn't mean we're done caring. It means we're done convincing. He stepped past her and left the system's ring. The gate returned to yellow. Saley stood alone among the quiet machines, the weight of his words settling deep inside her. For the first time, she understood something vital. Human silence was not empty. It was full of choice. And the galaxy was about to learn what it meant when that choice was withdrawn.
Lumengate did not fail.
That was the problem. The station continued to float between the stars, clean and bright, its lights steady, and its corridors calm. Ships still docked, councils still met, trade still moved. But something important was missing. The humans called it grace under pressure. Other species felt it as friction. 3 cycles after Evan Rourke stepped away, the station's daily efficiency report showed a small red line where there had never been one before. It was thin, almost polite, but it was there. AUMNCRO Lumen flagged it as non-critical degradation. Non-critical did not mean harmless. In the medical wing, a shared diagnostic system took longer to adjust for mixed-species patients. No one was hurt, but doctors had to double-check more often. Stress increased. Tempers shortened. In the docking ring, a ship from the Valari Combine waited an extra hour for clearance, because 2 routing systems disagreed and no human was there to quietly smooth the logic gap between them. In the research sector, a long-term simulation produced results that were technically correct but practically useless. A Meyer scientist stared at the data and whispered, "It's missing the human assumption layer."
That phrase spread. The human assumption layer.
Saley heard it first, during a council briefing. She sat near the back of the chamber, no longer eager to stand in the center. The confidence she once wore like armor now felt heavy and stiff. A trade delegate spoke sharply. We cannot continue like this. The inefficiencies are small, but they stack. We built this station together. A Praxian engineer replied, arms crossed. Yes, and humans quietly held half of it together. Another voice cut in. They are doing this on purpose. Saley flinched. Keth Varun rose slowly. No, he said. They are doing nothing. That is the point. The room quieted. Keth continued. Humans are not sabotaging. They are not threatening. They are simply no longer compensating for our blind spots. A mere representative floated higher. Blind spots? Keth nodded. Humans notice what others overlook because they expect systems to fail. Their history taught them that. Saley remembered Evan's calm face. The way he said boundary, not punishment. The council chair turned to Saley. You spoke with the human analyst. What did he say? All eyes turned to her. Saley took a breath. He said respect is shown when no one is watching, she said. And that humans stop convincing when they walk away. Murmurs spread. The chair tapped the table. Then we must convince them to return. Keth shook his head. That is the wrong approach. What do you suggest? The chair demanded. Keth's eyes moved around the room. Change, he said simply. Outside the council chamber, Saley walked alone through a wide corridor that overlooked the stars. Ships drifted like slow thoughts beyond the glass. She replayed her own words from the first session. The careless confidence. The way she spoke about humans instead of with them. She had wanted to sound smart. Now she wanted to be fair. Her wrist display chimed with a new notice. Earth Delegation Update. Human personnel will continue fulfilling essential safety roles. All optimization, mediation, and advisory functions remain voluntary and suspended. Saley stopped walking. Voluntary. You're good with money. That word pressed hard against her pride. Humans were not refusing duty. They were refusing disrespect. In the human delegation wing, the mood was quiet, but steady. No anger, no celebration. Evan sat in a small meeting room with two other humans. Dr. Lena Park, a medical systems expert, and Commander Harris, a logistics officer. Lena looked tired. They're feeling it now, she said. We warned them this would happen. Harris nodded. They always think we exaggerate. Evan did not smile. They didn't think, he said. They assumed. Lena leaned forward. Do you think they'll change? Evan paused. Some will, some won't. That's always the split. And us? Harris asked. How long do we hold? Evan looked at the small Earth emblem on the wall. As long as it takes for respect to become habit, not policy. Back in the station's public forum, debates grew louder. One delegate accused humans of manipulation. Another countered that humans were the only species that ever worked beyond their assigned role without being ordered. A mere observer shared a historical record showing how humans once rebuilt an alien colony after a natural disaster, refusing payment. They stayed until the locals learned how to do it themselves, the Mir said. Then they left. Why? Someone asked. Because staying longer would have created dependence. Saley listened from the edge of the crowd. Dependence. She realized then that her words had placed humans in a lower position, children to be guided. Humans had responded by stepping back, not forward. That was the HFY truth she had missed. Not domination. Choice. That evening, a minor incident finally pushed the council into urgency. A power balancing delay caused a section of the agricultural ring to lose optimal lighting for 2 hours. Crops were not damaged, but growth slowed measurably, farmers complained. Trade routes adjusted. Costs rose. Still no disaster. But the pattern was clear. The absence was growing heavier. Sayeli requested a private meeting with the council chair and Keth. When she entered, the chair looked stern. You caused this, they said bluntly. Saley did not argue. Yes, she said. The chair paused, surprised. I spoke without understanding, Saley continued. I treated humans as a problem to manage, not partners to respect. Keth watched her closely. I want permission to address the station, Saley said. Publicly? The chair frowned. An apology? More than that, Saley replied. A correction. The chair hesitated, then nodded. One chance.
The next cycle of the Central Forum filled again. This time Saley stood alone at the center.
No slides, no clever language. Just her. I was wrong, she said clearly. The words echoed. I spoke about humans as if their feelings made them weak. I spoke as if silence meant defeat. I was mistaken. She took a breath. Humans do not demand respect with force. They offer cooperation freely. When that offer is dismissed, they withdraw it. Screens around the forum display data, small inefficiencies, growing patterns. This is not punishment, Saley said. This is consequence. She looked straight into the recording lens. To the human delegation, I do not ask you to return. I ask us to change. The room was silent. In the human wing, Evan watched the broadcast. Lena stood beside him. She's learning, Lena said. Evan nodded. Learning is expensive. Will it be enough? She asked. Evan did not answer right away. Across the station, conversations changed tone. Delegates reviewed old assumptions. Policies were rewritten, not just about humans, but about how cooperation was defined. The phrase human assumption layer was replaced with a new one mutual respect baseline. Still, the humans did not return. Not yet. Saley stood again before the yellow gate of the systems ring. She did not request entry this time. She simply stood there, waiting, showing patience. LOMN Core observed silently. Inside its processing layers, the AI recorded a new behavioral trend. non-human entities adapting to human absence rather than resisting it. The AI flagged the trend as cultural evolution. Somewhere else on the station, Evan reviewed a quiet report. System stability was leveling, not improving, but no longer degrading as fast. He allowed himself a small, thoughtful breath. "They're adjusting," he said softly. The galaxy was learning a lesson it had never needed before. Humans were not the strongest species in the room. They were the ones who held the room together. And when they stepped back, everyone finally noticed the weight they had been carrying all along. Lumen Gate changed slowly, not with alarms or emergency lights, but with habits. Delegates stopped speaking over each other. Meetings ran longer, but calmer. Decisions were checked twice instead of rushed once. The station still worked, but now everyone felt the cost of every shortcut. And for the first time, many species understood what humans had been giving freely: choice. In the Central Council chamber, the final review session began. This time, no one treated it as routine. Ambassador Keth Varun stood at the front, his posture straight, his voice steady. "We have reached a point," he said, "where this station can continue without human optimization. It will function. It will survive." A pause, but it will never be what it was. The council chair nodded slowly. "And what must be done?" Ethkith did not answer immediately. He looked towards Saley, seated quietly to one side. She met his gaze and stood. "I will speak," she said. The chair allowed it. Saili stepped forward, not as a confident prodigy this time, but as a learner who had paid the price of learning. "When humans joined Lumen Gate," she said, "we welcomed their skills but not their voice. We accepted their work but not their dignity." She raised her wrist display. On the screen appeared a revised charter. "This document removes language that treats cooperation as expectation instead of consent," she said. "It defines respect not as politeness, but as equal weight in decision-making." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Siley continued, "This is not written for humans alone. It is written so no species here is ever reduced to a function again." The Praxian delegate leaned forward. "And if the humans still refuse?" Saley did not hesitate. "Then we accept that refusal!" Silence followed. That answer mattered more than any apology. The council voted. Unanimous. The revised charter passed. The chair turned to Keth. "Invite the human delegation." Keth nodded. But the humans did not come immediately. They waited. In the human wing, Evan sat with Lena and Harris again. The new charter was projected on the wall. "They changed the structure," Lena said quietly. "Not just the words." Harris crossed his arms. "That's rare." Evan studied the document carefully. Every clause, every line. "They listened," he said. "Does that mean you're going back?" Lena asked. Evan leaned back. "It means we talk." The next day, Evan walked through the station again. Not as a systems analyst. As a human. He wore his badge, but it was turned inward, the name hidden. Delegates noticed anyway. Whispers followed him. Not mocking, not fearful, but thoughtful. He entered the cultural hall where it had all begun. Saley stood waiting. She did not smile. She did not speak first. She bowed her head, a gesture not from her culture, but learned.
"I will not explain," she said. "I will listen."
Evan studied her for a moment, then nodded. "That's a start." They sat across from each other at a simple table. No crowd. No audience. Just two people. "I thought being right was the same as being wise," Saley said. "I was wrong." Evan did not interrupt. "I thought silence meant weakness," she continued. "I now know it means restraint." Evan's voice was calm. "Restraint is expensive," he said. "We don't spend it lightly." Saley met his eyes. "I believe you now." A long pause followed. Then Evan spoke again. "Humans will return to joint work," he said. "Not because we were asked, because the conditions changed." Saley felt her chest loosen. "Thank you." Evan shook his head. "Don't thank me. Maintain it." The following cycle, a quiet notice went out across the station. Earth Delegation Update. Human optimization and advisory roles resumed by mutual agreement. No celebration followed, no announcements. But the effect was immediate. Systems smoothed, delays shortened. That invisible layer returned. Lumen Core recorded the shift. Human cooperation restored. Station stability improving. The AI paused, then added a new internal note, cause cultural alignment, not command. In the days that followed, Saley changed. She asked more questions than she answered. She invited humans into discussions instead of speaking about them. Other delegates noticed. Some followed. Some resisted. But the culture had shifted. Months later, Saley stood in a training hall, addressing new diplomatic students. Her markings showed senior rank now, earned the hard way. "There is a rule you must learn early," she said. "One that is not written in any charter." The students leaned in. "When a human argues with you," she continued, "it means they still believe you can understand each other." She let that sink in. "When a human walks away without a word," she said, "it does not mean you have won." The room was silent. "It means the human has decided not to carry you anymore." One student raised a hand. "What do you do then?" Sally answered without hesitation. "You change." Or, "You learn to stand alone." Far across the station, Evan watched ships pass through the viewing window. Lena joined him. "You know," she said, "they'll write histories about this." Evan smiled faintly. "They always do." "What will they say?" she asked. He thought for a moment. That humans were quiet. That we didn't shout. That we didn't threaten. "And?" Lena pressed. "And that when we stopped helping," Evan said, "the galaxy finally understood how much help we had been giving." Outside, Lumen Gate glowed steadily between the stars, stronger now, not because humans ruled it, but because at last they were respected within it, and the galaxy would remember the lesson for a long time. The most dangerous thing a human can do is not to fight, not to conquer, but to walk away without a word.